Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Media Chop Up. I am Serge, aka Sergerilla, joined by my brother from another mother, Rick.
What's going on, man? We also have a special guest, Thomas Gillette, also known as G Friggity Fresh.
Thank you
What's
for joining
happening?
us,
What's
brother. Thank you.
happening?
Always happy to have you. Also, I want to thank the co-host that assisted while I was busy at home. Being a daddy and having taking care of some stuff. So thank you for joining in, and we appreciate you. This is our first episode live, everybody. So welcome. You're welcome to join in. You're welcome to interact with us. It's a pretty cool topic we got this time. This topic that we have is near and dear to my heart because I grew up there. So we're gonna go a little bit 80's nostalgia, and we're live on Facebook and YouTube. So welcome, y'all.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, how you feel about the 80's, guys?
Yeah, man, I'm an 80s baby, so it's the best era ever. I was created at that time. So
I think about that. I think about that. Obviously, I'm staying true to 80's. The Last Dragon right here, repping big time. 80's was a big part of not just all our lives. I think it was one of the best eras, and not because I grew up in it, but as I look at it and compare, like movie wise, like obviously, man, there was so much creativity back then, and things have changed. We'll talk about that later. But I battle with am I favoring that the 80's, or is it because I grew up there, or is it because it really was the best era?
It was.
I agree. You're not gonna argue, But in fact, there's so many great movies, man, and I want to start off by saying the movies that we talk about today. Let's take this off.
Yeah.
The movies that we talk about today, they're not necessarily the best movies of the 80's, not at all. It's more about just these are the choices, these are goodies that we really hold near and dear, and they stuck out. And in all honesty, it was very hard picking movies because like there's so many movies that you're attached to growing up. You get that nostalgic feeling, man, that great feeling of it brings you back.
Yeah, man.
So I derived a list of all a bunch of movies, not all, but a bunch of bangers, and it was a great conversation between all of us where we were just looking up stuff like, yeah, what about that movie? Yeah, I remember that movie. It's pretty crazy. So I'm gonna go through this list, man. All right, real quick. In no particular order. I try to put it in order that it came out, and there's a bunch of ones that we missed. But Star Wars, Mad Max, Rocky 3, E.T., Beastmaster, Scarface, Gremlins, Beverly Hills Cop, Terminator, The Last Dragon, of course. Weird Science, The Goonies, The Heavenly Kid, Legend. Absolutely, you got to rep. Back to the Future. How do you not recognize that? Little Shop of Horrors, Short Circuit, Howard the Duck. Oh, I was heavy on Howard the Duck. The Fly, Aliens, La Bamba, Predator, RoboCop, Bloodsport, Child's Play, Kickboxer, Top Gun, Risky Business, Rain Man, The Outsiders. Man, I can keep going, man. There's so many great movies, and if you haven't seen any of those movies, make time to watch them, man. They're great.
shame on you.
Shame on
Somebody
you.
says Scarface and Hellraiser. We got kind of Children of the Corn on the side over there.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. You can't miss those. Scarface is classic. Scarface, I don't know if you know, that's actually a remake. A lot of
Right.
people don't know that. That's actually a remake from a 1950s joint. Now, that 1950s joint, honestly, I mentioned it. I wouldn't say waste your time watching it because it's not really that great. But if you want to stay true to the whole Scarface storyline and everything, and they changed it up, it's not the same. It's not in Miami. It's in the 50s, Tommy guns and whatnot. But it was pretty cool. Twins, absolutely. Twins, a great movie.
Yeah, Gillette. What are some that come to your head, Gillette? Some movies from the 80's that bring
Oh,
you back to
man.
that time.
He just ran off on like the ones that come straight. He said Last Dragon. He said Goonies. I'm wearing a Goonies shirt, and to be a part of it. The cultural side for us in the household, the comedic side, the Eddie Murphy specials. So you got Trading Places, you got Golden Child. You got Beverly Hills Cop. All of the different Beverly Hills Cops.
Absolutely.
So
Let me ask you a question. Either of you can answer, or anyone out there can answer. "Kiss My Converse" by Show Enough.
You should plug that that comment. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's a classic comment right there. "Kiss My Converse" by Show Enough. I can't see which Facebook user wrote that, unless
Kyle wrote it.
Oh, Kyle
from Kyle. Yeah, that's
what's up, Kyle? Welcome. Absolutely classic. But if you can, from now, the times that we are in now, who dominates, if so, or what movies are really popular, or what actors really dominate right now? I would say by far comics. The comics are controlling Hollywood. They all have their own individual stories, as well as the Avengers, and that's really big in the box office. Anything else any other franchises that stand out to you now?
You definitely have to say Fast and Furious franchise. Whether people love it or hate it, it always does well, and people watch it. So you definitely have to add that, and that's an easy one because there's so many different actors and actresses in it. A lot of people's favorites, so that's definitely one. But it's not that many. There's not that many that stand out to me right now.
So if you think about anything else right now, there's a bunch of other things sprinkled in, movies here and there, but pretty much everything's a remake. Even the Marvel movies or the superhero movies, those are remade with different characters. They reboot them, and if you think about it, back in the 80s, the only one who really touched the comics, if I remember right, was Spawn. Spawn was the only one, and it wasn't even that popular.
And Spider-Man. I mean, Superman. Excuse me,
Superman. Yeah, absolutely. But otherwise, it wasn't a trusted type. The Hollywood studios weren't saying, "Hey, let's spend all this money on these."
I think we got one Batman, right? The Jack Nicholson Joker Batman.
Do you know what year that was in? That was 1990. Was it? Batman. It wasn't.
Batman was late 80s.
Late 80s, yeah. So it took a while for that to come. The reason why I bring that up, and as I'm going through all these amazing movies from the 80s, right, I started deriving a list of actors. And these are the actors that mostly dominated in the 80s. But from what I can see, we barely put a list together. Oh, you have The Rock. The Rock is in everything right now. Rick's favorite actor, The Rock, right?
Favorite person.
But there's not a lot. But in the 80s, you have Harrison Ford, and I even did the math how much money they made, and you can't really compare the money they made back then to now because inflation and whatever, right? But I'll give you a little information. Harrison Ford, he led the pack with $3.7 million he made during the 80s. Eddie Murphy, $2.1 million. Sylvester Stallone, $1.9 million. Now that's considered successful at that time. Obviously, now people aren't taking jobs for that amount of money. They're like, you better pay me more. And now it's like $20 million a movie sometimes or something like that. Right? Yeah. Tom Cruise, $1.7 million. Dan Aykroyd, comedian, $2 million. Bill Murray, $1.9 million. Richard Pryor, $1.4. Chevy Chase, $1.4, and Jack Nicholson, $1.5. My whole point is that you see all these people that were all dominating in the 80s, they had plenty of food to go around and make money. They were all making money. All the studios put money. There was a lot of variety out there. There was a lot of creativity with these sci-fi and horror and all these stories. Whereas now you don't see that. Everything's a remake. Everything's either a plug-in for a new superhero story. And I think that it's cool that they're making more superhero stories because now they can kind of tell more of the story because the story is huge. It's part of a big comic book. So it's hard to fill that into 90 minutes of a movie. But a lot of the true fans get upset when they move a little bit off to the side and they don't tell their true story, or they change it up a little bit to accommodate whatever else. So this is just more proof of why the 80s was so amazing. Do you have any positive memories of the 80s? Watching these movies? Do you remember going to the movies to see these things?
Oh, definitely. Even though I wasn't supposed to go. I know my brother took me. My older brother took me to see Raw in the movie Eddie Murphy Raw, and a couple of horror films that my mom did not want me to see back then.
Yep.
I know he took me to see. So
Raw right here.
Yeah, the movies was just a big part of a kid's me being a kid. My leisure time was the park and movies.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that was it.
And watching the Knicks for me also. I fit that in.
Unfortunately, I grew up somewhat poor, so I didn't go to my very first movie theater experience was in, I want to say, 1990. It was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I never experienced the movies in the 80s. I seen VHSs.
So it's crazy that you say that, because as I'm deriving this list, I'm accessing my memory, and I'm like, and I'm also keeping track of like the box office, who was successful, who wasn't, how much it cost, the budgets and whatnot. Never really paid attention to that, up until we started doing the show. I never really paid attention to it. But then I can't remember, bro, going to the movies like really as a kid, And I'm not gonna say that I wasn't taken to the movies, but it wasn't as popular thing. Now I do remember the movies at some point costing $7.50 a ticket, right?
You were a teenager.
Right? But I think once I was a teenager and I was able to go on my own, that's when I started going to movies. I remember standing online in Kings Plaza Mall for the original Batman. And I remember I had mad pins, because wearing a bunch of pins was like the cool thing, But I didn't want to ask my family for can I get money to go to the movies, So what we had, another medium that we had, was the movie stores, the VHS stores. And the beauty of it was that you can get 2 VCRs and you can dub it onto another tape. You just put some tape over a little section of the cassette player, and you were able to record whatever you want. All you had to do was buy blank tapes, and you better make sure you better label it, because you're not going to know what's what.
Yeah, and you stretch it out. You put it on standard definition instead of high definition. So we had like one VHS for like 6 movies.
yeah, I do remember that. I forgot about that. But I actually, to this day, in my closet, I held on to my VCR. No idea why. I held on to it, and I still have the remote. The remote's this big, right?
Yeah,
it's huge, right? But but I don't know. I kept. Also, I have some things that like I have some game film of me when I played football when I was younger that I still want to kind of transfer to DVD, whatever. But later for that,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, going to the movie store, I think it was like $5 a movie, and like every week we were renting like 2 movies. And I think the biggest problem back then was not rewinding your movie. Like, hey, you didn't rewind this? Like,
they used to charge you for that?
Some places. Eventually, they start, and the people start getting pissed off. They will rent the movie. It's all the way in the middle of the movie or towards the end. And
I remember as a kid, I didn't like VCR because when we were young, you had the V hold on a VCR. It would give those lines, and it would be running. And me being the kid, I was the one that had to always keep getting up, and there was like a little knob underneath the VCR, and you got to like find that sweet spot, because it either would roll upwards or it would roll downwards.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to master that V hold. So me, for one, I was super excited for DVDs, because that means I didn't have to get up and go and mess with the box anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, in my household, it was mostly just my parents and me. I mean, my brother was in the house here and there, but honestly, my level of focus, man, I was able to watch movies, and I watched them over and over and memorized them. I was known for doing that, and I was a pretty good kid. Like, I wasn't getting in trouble. I was watching movies, But hey, I love movies to this day, and that's why, So I guess let's start. My first choice of movie is a very, very, very memorable movie. I could watch it over and over. In fact, I watched it the other day. Let's pull it up. That first movie would be Big Trouble in Little China. Do you remember it?
Of course.
Yes.
Classic movie. Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall. Kim Cattrall was in Sex and the City. I don't know if you remember. She was Sarah Jessica Parker's friend. That was
Okay.
very hoish. If you got it.
It's a lovely word you use there.
Promiscuous.
Okay,
there you go, promiscuous.
It's not gonna be a group of hoes out my door like, we're not hoes, we're not hoes. Like, no one's gonna argue that. But okay, that's a better way of saying it. You got it, right? There's a bunch of other actors. You might not know them. You know them by face, but you may not know them by name. But Dennis Dunn, James Hong, it was mostly an Asian cast. So I'll tell you a little bit about in case you haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it, shame on you. Let me get these comments up so I can see them.
He got in trouble watching Jim Carrey movies, doing dumb stuff for fun.
Who's that?
That's Abby.
You know what's funny is that I remember my dad, and this is in the 90s. He took me to see Ace Ventura, and me, I was entertained. I was loving it. He was like, "Do not go in there, woo!" And he was doing all the crazy things that he does, right? And I went out. I left the movie theater smiling, and I looked at my dad, and he was like, "Don't ever take me to a movie like that again. You wasted my life." Like, wow. He was so bored because he just saw Jim Carrey as being a clown. Like, I don't want to see this clown. Me, I was entertained.
Yeah, it's not everybody's genre, man.
Yeah, it is what it is. But
that's a good question too to ask. What's your favorite genre in the 80s before you get into your set?
How do you answer that, bro? Like, you have amazing horror movies, you have amazing action, you have kung fu, and kung fu was big. At what point you only watch kung fu if that was your type of movie, and pretty much that's what you focused on, and then it crossed over. Especially in Mascot.
Look at the comment. You ever had time when you get hype about him watching a movie on VHS and it was porn? Or they didn't have labels on your VHSs at home?
Has not happened to me. And that means
that's a unique experience. I gotta say,
the house is lazy enough to hide it afterwards, but that's a you problem. Like, that did not happen to me.
You're all alone on that one, Fabian. That's just you.
But thank you for sharing. We will absolutely look at you differently from now on. But so I'll tell you a little bit about this movie. All right, Kurt Russell plays a hard-boiled truck driver, Jack Burton, who gets caught in a bizarre conflict within and underneath San Francisco Chinatown. An ancient Chinese prince and Chinatown crime lord has kidnapped a beautiful green-eyed woman who is the fiancée of Jack's best friend. Jack must help his friend rescue the girl before the evil Lopan uses her to break the ancient curse that keeps him a fleshless and immortal spirit. And this was released in July 1st of 1986. John Carpenter was the director. He's done a lot of big things. Believe it or not, as I started doing research, it was a lot of drama with him in Hollywood after this movie because of the way he was viewed. But after all these years have passed, this movie is obviously a cult classic, and the numbers of people who watched it and paid to watch it do not tell the story of how good it is. During those times, from what I've read, there was a lot of competition, and like I said, I gave you a lot of action stars, a lot of big names that were all coming out with movies in the 80s. And believe it or not, it's almost like kind of now, like your movie, the success of your movie is determined by what else is coming out at the same time. So you don't want to get killed by an Avatar if you come out by Avatar, because everyone's gonna spend their money on Avatar, and it's not gonna sit. Like, people aren't gonna go see your movie too. And not to mention prices have obviously gone up, so people aren't as free to spend that money to go to the movies again. It's almost like a once a month thing type of thing, But the budget was $25 million. And the box office made 11.1 million.
Ooh, that hurts.
Yes. So
that's why we never got a sequel.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you know this. I don't know how I feel about this, but The Rock is actually talking about being involved and trying to spearhead making either a remake or a continuation to this movie. I don't want to see The Rock in this movie. The Rock. he jumps in a bunch of different movies. This is not one I want to see him in, and I love him, but this is not one I want to see him in. You know. So a little information about this movie. So it was actually originally written as a 1890s Western. And where it fit in was the story had a cowboy that went into Chinatown back in the day of 1899. And that cowboy was an amazing shot in distance. He could shoot birds down and all different types of shots. But when it comes to shooting people, he couldn't shoot people. Like, he would just miss. It was weird. So the studio was like, yeah, we're not making that movie. Rewrite it. So they rewrote it and they moved it to San Francisco, modern day, and took it from there. And I'm glad they did that, you know. I'm just reading some of the comments. So the production was actually rushed because of Gillette's man crush, Eddie Murphy, was making his favorite movie, The Golden Child. So they had to rush and make it. So that came out in December, and this movie came out in July. So they wanted to rush for a couple of reasons. Number one, you don't want to go up against Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was a heavy hitter. He made Beverly Hills Cop. He made 48 Hours. He was gold. He was as good as it gets in the box office. So there were like two things. Number one, both movies, if you think about it, deal with Chinese magic or mysticism, you know? So they were like similar stories. They go in different directions, but how do you have both these movies coming out the same thing with kind of the same premise? So they rushed this movie and I enjoyed the movie, but you know, let's see what else. When the studio watched this movie, they kept reworking it because they came back, and I think ultimately they were comparing Kurt Russell to Eddie Murphy. And Kurt Russell was an up and comer. He was doing really good for a couple movies. He was charismatic. He was good looking. They were like, yeah, he can be our lead man. But originally, he actually wasn't slated to be the. In fact, I forgot to put my my images here so you can see a little bit of it. So this is the cover. You know, Big Trouble in Little China. This is Kurt Russell right here, and the guy right next to him is Dennis Dunn. Dennis Dunn was actually originally slated to be the lead role of this movie, which is crazy. And
wow,
Kurt Russell was actually playing almost like a dumb American, because it is true, because he's not from the Chinese world. So Dennis Dunn was telling him, like, listen, you're gonna see some stuff, you're not gonna understand it. And Kurt Russell, with his sarcastic voice and cracking jokes and everything, was like, don't tell me, I don't want to hear that. Like, he was cracking jokes the whole movie. It's a great movie. In that movie, I totally forgot to. You have these these villains, and these villains, I don't know if you have I think one was called Lightning, Thunder, and something else. And one guy was like he can control lightning. The other guy, he had swords, and the guy in the middle, he was like a blowfish. He
could expand himself. Yeah, it was weird.
It was weird, but like he was like super strong.
Yeah,
I think there was a scene where they were tied to wheelchairs, and they got out, and then when he came back in the room, they fronted like they were still tied up, and then Kurt Russell had a knife in his boot. So he pulled it to the guy's neck, and he was like, "Don't you move!" Right? And the guy was like, "Get off me!" Like he just flexed, and he just fell off him. He was like, "What the fuck is this?" Right? Yeah. So you see these bad guys right here, right? There was a lot of great scenes, fighting scenes. It was really, really good, right? You have Lo Pan. He was the big bad guy. He was the guy who kidnapped the girls with the green eyes, so he can do a ceremony, and he can get their blood, so he could become mortal. You know, so there's some really good bad guys in this. I'll show you some right here. You have this weird looking thing that was the eyes and ears of Lo Pan, so he could basically be anywhere. You had this big ass ugly monster, right? Oof. It was disgusting, but it was
classic monster there.
Yeah, it was scary. It scared the hell out of me. And in case, I don't know if you knew this, Lo Pan is actually a lot of different mediums have have looked to this movie as inspiration. So Lo Pan was actually recreated in the Ninja Turtles world, and he was the spirit as himself.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's dope.
Yeah. And he actually got the same actor to do the voice. So so a lot of people have copied and mimicked this. And as well, if you look at this, I wanted to get another image. I totally forgot. I was crunched for time. But if you look at these guys, what do they remind you of? Do they remind you of anything?
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat was modeled after this movie. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, the fighters, Raiden, and all these different things, they were modeled after this movie, which I think is pretty epic. It's pretty crazy. When listening to Kurt Russell in this movie, I kept I was listening to the way he speaks. I tried to imitate it, but I didn't really have enough time to try to master it. But there's a way of him speaking. And sometimes, Mace the rapper, how does he speak? How does he slows up, right? He slurs, right? 50 Cent, he does the same thing because of his jaw, right? So he was speaking in a certain way, and I was like, I can't do it. But it was like ringing a bell. And I actually have 2 videos here. One, so you can hear how he speaks. So try to listen how he speaks. I'll play that for you. And then another one of who he modeled that type of speech after. All right, so you ready for this?
Go.
Let's see what we got here. All right, let's see. Bang. All right. All right.
Now we must satisfy the first not so fast, gentlemen. Is it too much to ask, Thunder? Kill him for me.
It's not showing.
It's not showing?
No, you got the wrong tab open.
Can you see?
Nope.
All right.
I can hear him though. Gets the point to get the job done.
Just listen to him. It's not coming through. I'll try it another time, unfortunately. But the person he modeled the way his speech pattern from is the late great John Wayne. So John Wayne speaks a certain way, right? I don't know if you can do an imitation of him, Rick, but he speaks just like him, right? And I think it's interesting because the movie was originally supposed to be a Western, and even though it was modern day, he still kept that accent. Just a little tidbit for you to know. I don't know if you guys care, but whatever.
Oh yeah, one of the guys from here, John Devlin, actually made a really good point to our question. Well, what do we think about why do we like 80s movies? And what he says is actually pretty cool. He says that the 80s was cool because there wasn't as many films released. It wasn't 5 big films a week every week, and there wasn't much home viewing accessible. So a big action movie like Indiana Jones was an event. That's absolutely a really good point.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I remember was this in the movies? I don't know if it was in the movies. I gotta look it up. But I remember the movie Ewoks: Battle for Endor. They made a big thing when they televised it on TV, and they were like, "It's gonna be in stereo." And what that meant was you can actually turn on your radio and listen to it at the same time. So it added a stereo surround sound type of feel, and that was amazing to me. I recorded that bad boy, and I watched that a million times. But it was a family event, man. I love that movie. Pretty crazy. The Dennis Dunn, the other guy who's also the hero in it. You know who they originally wanted to be Dennis Dunn, the other guy.
I'm gonna assume it was like a Jackie Chan or a Jet Li or Bruce Lee or something like that. Or was Bruce Lee dead at that time? I don't know.
It was Jackie Chan.
And
they hesitated because it was like, yeah, his English isn't so good, So they hesitated, and then they were like, you know what, let's offer it to him. And they offered it to him, and he was like, no dice. And then
wow, he said no dice.
That's it, man. I mean, that's that movie for me. I enjoyed it. It was a great movie. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, man. It's worth it. How about you, Rick? What sticks out to you from the 80s?
Man, there's a lot of movies that stick out to me in the 80s. So this was actually a really, really hard topic for me to like really boil down. I was busting my head, but I went with I think one that's unanimously a favorite of a lot of people. So I personally went with Little Shop of Horrors, which I know you guys have seen.
Ooh,
most definitely.
oh my god,
Feed me, Seymour.
Bro, I watched that so many times, man. I memorized that like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, so let me ask you guys a question, right? What genre do you think Little Shop of Horrors was?
Musical.
All right.
It's not just musical, you know.
The beauty about Little Shop of Horrors is that it was so many different genres, so it had something for everybody. You had horror, you had musical, you had comedy, you had romance.
Yes.
You had dark comedy, all that stuff, man. So it was really, really. You had sci-fi, you had fantasy. So it really did a great job of putting together all these different genres.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it would. You know, it's funny because just like you said about your movie, this movie also had a budget of 25 million, and only made about 13. And I didn't know that, so I did some research on the movie recently.
Say that again. So they had a budget of what?
25 million, just like the other one, like your movie had, and they made about 13 million back. So it was a flop.
39 million they made, yeah. So they barely cleared, right?
Yeah, they didn't clear. It was a 25 million budget, and they only made back 13 million.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask you guys, as someone who's seen the movie, what are some of your guys' favorite scenes from that movie? I'm gonna go with Gillette.
Oh, so you putting me on the spot because it's been a while.
That's all right.
But obviously, you know, in my home, we like to mimic certain actors and actresses. So like Serge said, the songs at the time, I knew them. Mm-hmm. So when it came on, we would sing it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, obviously the plant has several catchphrases that kept that movie alive once it left the theaters. Mm-hmm. So, you know, obviously I don't remember all of them, but I said in the beginning, you know, "Feed me, Seymour" was like one of my favorite lines in it, you know. And like we would say that all the time. You go to grandma's house and she's like, "Hey baby, you want to eat? Feed me, grandma." You know, we just made that part of our lives because of that part of the movie. So it was really great.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Serge?
Man, I mean, I memorized every song, and it's been so long, but it's funny how we speak about it, and I just started like singing some of it. Suddenly Seymour. I don't know. And there were so many great actors in that movie.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
That made cameos and everything, you know?
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite scenes in this movie is the scene. It's a comedic scene between what's his name? Steve Martin and Bill Murray.
Yeah, someone just mentioned Steve Martin just now. They said Steve Martin as the dentist is the best part, and it's so random. You wouldn't really expect it, you know,
because he's not just your typical dentist. He's a womanizing, sadistic, evil dentist who just takes great pleasure in torturing people, basically. So what was awesome about this scene was that you have a sadist on one side and Steve Martin. And then you have a masochist in Bill Murray who actually loves pain. So you put those two opposites and you let them go loose in that scene, and you got nothing but comic gold, man.
Well, the girl that he beat up on, his girlfriend, which was the crush of Rick Moranis, right?
Right.
She was like, who did she? She acted like a ditz, like the way she spoke and the way she walked, her little walk and everything.
Yeah, of course. That's the funny part. Like back then in my youth, you know, she was all cleavage in that movie, bro.
She was.
Yeah, her cleavage could have been a character in the film by itself. So I was like, I was a young little hornball. I was like, every time she ran in the scene, I mean, I didn't know this back then, but I was hoping that like a boob popped out. But you know, if it did happen, they took care of that in post-production. But yeah, she was like, for me at the time, that was like my first exposure to like the female anatomy at that age. I'm like, whoa, did they do this on purpose?
This came out in 1986, so I was 6 years old when this came out.
I was 7.
I mean, I don't know if I saw it in 1986. Maybe I saw, you know.
Nah, probably not. I know I didn't see it in 86. I was a little older.
Of video stores, you can just see as much movies as you can rent, you know. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you had to catch it right away. And it also takes a while for it to go from the movies onto cassette, you know? Probably 1987, 88 when I saw it, you know?
Right.
Definitely.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think this movie was first a play, a musical, and then got converted to theater. But what I just found out was that the actual musical had a totally different ending than the theatrical version.
You know
and
that?
And that ending, you know, Aubrey dies. So does the character that Rick Moranis Seymour. He dies, and the plant multiplies and multiplies and nearly takes over the world. And there's like a scene where he's like climbing the Statue of Liberty, according to the article. Yeah, so it's like a world domination.
That's not. I mean, if you think about it, the movie ended with like him having to stop him because he was out of control, and it was like he was a planet. He was actually a plant from outer space.
Yeah,
right.
Do you guys know who played that plant?
I don't know.
You know him. Both of you know him. Everybody knows who it is. The guy is the lead.
The Rock.
No.
Oh.
The guy's name was Levi Stubbs. He was the lead singer of the Four Tops. You guys know who the Four Tops was?
Really?
Probably if I see him.
All right, how about this song? Everybody knows the song. Sugar pie, honey bunch.
Okay.
You know I love you. Well, he's the lead singer to the Four Tops, and he was the one who did the voice.
They needed someone that could sing for this movie.
Yeah, he was a strong baritone voice also. So you know, he had that powerful performance. And I really love the effort they put into making that creature, man. The way it talked and moved, it was so human-like. They did a great job. It's just
very popular. I remember buying a game that was like the game Operation, where you had the plant and you had the tongue right there, and you had to put the marbles on his tongue without him biting down on you.
Yeah.
And play that for me.
You know, I least expected to come on this 80s nostalgia podcast and get to hear both of the hosts sing.
And so you better sing. You better
sing.
What
a treat. What a treat.
Oh, obviously, if someone on Facebook is enjoying it, I think we should all vote for him to keep singing.
Yeah. I mean, you know the next verse, Rick?
Absolutely not. Let's go with you, Gillette. What's your name? We're gonna move right into Gillette. What's one of your favorite 80s movies, man?
So similar to both of you guys, there's so many to pick from, and I was like, it was weird. First came to me was the Eddie Murphy ones, but believe it or not, those were for adults, and it took us a while to catch all his jokes. You had to watch it many years later. So I actually picked a movie that was for kids. I got it. I loved it. With the first watch, you know. So I picked the Neverending Story. Right?
So true.
Childhood favorite.
That was a great movie.
Huh?
That was a great movie, man.
It was. It's one of those movies where you remember cheering with them in the movie. Like you emulate whatever the person was doing. You feel that energy. And so it always stayed with me. And, you know, I wanted a little white dog dragon thing to fly me around.
Is there a reason why it looked like a dog? Is there a reason why it was designed to look like a dog? I thought that back then. I was like, why is that a flying dog? But
I just think it was easier. They wanted to go with the cute factor for him to be a hero and not be mistaken as a monster or a beast. Because dragons are, you know, usually the complete opposite of it. But there's so many parts in it, and you know, even though the effects are really outdated, I think the movie ages well. You watch it again, and you don't spend a lot of time critiquing the effects. You just you spend a lot of time thinking about, wow, oh, I remember that part. Oh, yeah, oh, like you just keep saying that. It's like it gets you really excited.
Definitely. Well, the budget was for that movie was $27 million back then. It came out in 1984, and they made $100 million. So it was obviously successful, and it was released in July of '84.
Yeah. So I'm so impressed with you guys, and all the fun facts you had, that I was like, I gotta make sure I have at least one fun fact. And you took it, but you took it right. I was gonna talk about how much it costs, but Did you know that at the time that was the most expensive film? It's a German film, which I didn't know.
They filmed it over there, yeah.
Right, it was filmed in Germany, and at the time it was the most expensive film for German cinematography. And I didn't realize it, but it was based off of a novel, right? Mm-hmm. And the writer of the novel was heavily involved in the making of the movie, but he actually hated the movie.
Really?
He gave it terrible reviews to the point where he told them to remove his name from the credits.
Really?
Wow. It's one of those type of things. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure he had to backtrack when it made 100
We got a
million.
request for you, Gillette.
Say what?
We got a request for you.
Sing the song from Neverending Story. I don't even know. Let's see.
The words are in the title.
Nah, man, but that's not one of the movies that you sing the song.
Yes, you do.
Nah, that's just one of the songs you walk around the house screaming names. Atreyu!
He's right. He's right. He's so right.
Like that. You're not singing that movie, but you.
Are you gonna sing it? Are you gonna sing it?
No, absolutely not. Turn around.
Look
at what you see. That's it. That's
I'm mad that you even remember that.
Yo, I am so impressed, man. I am so impressed because I knew that growing up, but then eventually I forgot it. But
how embarrassing!
The hook was the Neverending Story. You just stretched it. I can't sing, so I'm not.
How embarrassing am I that that's one of my favorites, and I watched it recently just so I could freshen my memory, and I still didn't remember that song.
That's crazy.
But it was very catchy. The song was very catchy.
But listen, man, that movie was like the Lord of the Rings of that time.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
It was pretty crazy. Like,
what's one of your favorite scenes from that movie?
There's so many.
Oh man, yeah. Let's see. For me, the best part of the movie was the dog dragon. So unfortunately, my favorite scene is all the way at the end when he makes his, the girl is like, just make a wish and all of that. Mm-hmm. And his first wish is to ride around on that damn dragon. And he's just riding around screaming and shit like a real kid. It was so realistic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, am I not supposed to curse on this podcast? I'm not
can.
sure.
Okay.
So, and he's like, yeah, nothing's happening. He's just riding it, and they're changing the scene from like desert to like snowy mountains, and he's just like, yeah. And then finally, right? Finally he takes him back into the city to chase down the bullies. And I thought it was so funny because no one else saw the dog but them. Right? And then they run in the alley and he got his sweet revenge. They threw themselves in the garbage. One tripped over some garbage and the other two threw themselves in the garbage. So to me, that was like the best.
Can I admit something?
Go ahead.
Back then when I watched it, and I watched that movie many, many times, Noah Hathaway played Atreyu, the main actor.
Right.
I didn't know if it was a boy or girl.
Yeah.
That says how good looking he was. That says how good looking he was.
It's a she. It's not a he. I wasn't sure.
Girl?
I wasn't sure. It's a girl.
No, it's not.
Oh no, he's right. No. He's actually right. No. The character or the actor?
The actor, Noah Hathaway.
No, that's not a girl. That's a man.
Really?
Yeah.
I could have.
Noah is a man's name.
It was a woman.
It was definitely a boy because they said, we send for a warrior, not a little boy in the beginning. Right. And he was like, well, I'm from this tribe. I can easily go back or whatever. So
all right, I'm gonna look at it. I could have swore I looked it up today and I was like, no, it's a girl. It's a girl. Like it was like it blew my mind.
So no, I looked them up because I like to see that's an early movie. What are some other movies they might have done that maybe we didn't recognize them?
Yeah.
And Noah didn't do a lot of American films. He did more a foreign film, so we wouldn't have heard of him. Nothing. Atreyu was Noah.
Yeah.
And so the only fun fact I had for him was that he was the prima donna in the movie. He was the person that was hard to work with. He didn't have that many lines, and he gave them the hardest time of all the child actors.
Oh, wow.
Wow, definitely. So yeah, what I love about that movie more than anything is it was creative, right? It was
Mhm.
fantasy, and it really like almost like as kids kept kids using their imagination. Hey, you should read. This person didn't want to read.
Yes.
They ended up reading it because it was so involved, and they realized how things started coming to life when they started reading it. And oh my God, this is real. This is actually a story of somebody, and they were connecting. It's kind of like Jumanji if you think about it. I hate to compare it to that, but like Jumanji's reality versus another world where there's other characters that you can kind of control or connect with.
Mhm.
So similarities, but I respect and love the writing freedom of what they did back then, in the 80s,
All right. Question.
Uh-huh.
At what point did you guys realize that you were on the adventure with Bastion?
I didn't.
After
Bastion, all right, Bastion is reading Atreyu's story, and we are watching Bastion go on his adventure with that's why it's called the Neverending Story. Then allegedly someone's watching us go through that adventure with Bastion, going with that adventure with Atreyu.
So the Matrix. Got you.
Hey Rick, did you tell him your favorite scene from that movie?
Oh, me, it's a tearjerker scene. We talked about it earlier today. It's when the death of Artax.
The horse.
So sad.
The horse.
Yeah, man.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, man. I've watched that movie so many times, and I was like yelling at the screen, expecting it to listen to me.
I think we all did that.
Artax, come on, don't give in to the nothing.
Yeah.
I got another little fun fact that I didn't even think of. That was in the 80s, and everything was taboo back then. The director bashed the movie because of the Sphinx at the end. He said
Really?
they put strippers in my movie because if you remember, they had them like
bare-breasted.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that was like a big thing, and that gave the movie
had lasers.
Yeah,
they can shoot. You had a long pathway you had to walk, and if you didn't do it right, you got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
But they did have like bodies and stuff.
Yeah, they nitpicked it, saying they put strippers in the story and just destroyed my story. Mm-hmm. And I was the one actor that we don't really know about, but I was most impressed with is a gentleman named Alan Oppenheimer, which he does the voice of Falcor.
Okay,
right, it's an elderly gentleman. And what I found out is that he's like a really big time voiceover in cartoons, early cartoons. So he did voices in He-Man. He did voices in $6 Million Man. He was the clock in Toy Story Floor.
Ooh.
Oh wow!
Yes, he did voices in Mighty Mouse, and even the original Smurfs. He did the voice of Vanity Smurf.
Okay.
Wow, he's an established voice actor.
Yeah. And it's a lot of different. Those are not the same kind of voice. Mm-hmm. So I was impressed by that the most.
Yeah, man.
Really quick, I just want to give a shout out to anyone who's listening right now. Right, I'm gonna send you guys the link to the StreamYard app right now that we're live on. If you guys want to chime in and give us one of your 80s stories or 80s movie stories, I'm gonna put the link into the Facebook page. And if you don't want to be on video, you can join us through audio. You guys seen us do it before. That's something that we want to give you guys an opportunity to participate into the podcast. So I'm going to throw the link drop in there. If you guys want to join and give us your 2 cents on what your 80s movies choice is or what you thought about it, that'll be 100% awesome.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. All right. So let's go to, do you have a comment? Oh, that's you. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next movie. So the next movie ties in with that same idea, a child's imagination, right? It's pretty cool. And a lot of these kids movies, I was a kid watching it, so I felt, I related with it, So let me pull up the picture so the movie that a lot of people haven't seen this movie. It has a young Ethan Hawke in it, but it came out in 1985. It's called The Explorers.
Oh shit!
Took it back.
Yeah. So have you seen it? Have you guys seen it?
I don't think so.
But
okay.
it's
It's okay.
It wasn't something we watched a lot, right?
Yeah, it's okay. So I mean, I'll tell you a little bit about it, right? Young Ethan Hawke, a boy obsesses with a 50 sci-fi movies about aliens, and he has a reoccurring dream about a blueprint of some kind. And every time he wakes up, he ends up drawing a little bit more of it, and he shows it to his friend, who's her friend. His friend is they're kind of like all of them are nerds, and his friend is like a scientist in his own right. And he was like, hey, that looks like kind of like a blueprint of some kind. Maybe I could punch it into my computer. The computer's super ancient, but it's part of the movie, right? So eventually, in his basement, they end up learning that blueprint that they typed in and put it into their computer actually created an orb, like a blue orb, a clear orb that you couldn't see it at first. You had to type in some DOS type of commands in order for it to be visible. But there was a point where the cat landed on his keyboard and typed in a bunch of commands, and this orb just went through everything. And I'm talking about went through bookshelves, went through walls, went through brick. It was like it was crazy, and they couldn't stop it. And then eventually they found out that they had the ability to create this orb, and then you can make it bigger or smaller, and it can go fast as you want. And eventually they thought about using their imaginations and everything. They said, hey, listen, why don't we make our own little ship, and then the orb will protect us. And they were able to breathe in there, and they did that. They brought oxygen in there with them. And while they were like basically living out their dreams and flying over the towns, and everybody thought it was like a UFO and everything, all of a sudden they lost control, and there was all types of writing on the screen of their computer, and it took them just straight north, straight out of this, almost out of this world. And they had to unplug the power in order to get back control of it. Eventually they realized that there was a greater being that was pulling them up, and they were talking about it, and they were like, listen, man, I want to live. I don't want to, we don't know what's out there. And then they were like, listen, this is our destiny. Let's do it. So it became an adventure story for these kids. And they went up, and the same thing happened again, and they got pulled into a spaceship, and they end up encountering these aliens that you're horrified. You see these ugly things; they're disgusting looking. In fact, I think I have a picture of them. Let me see. Do I have them? Did I upload it? Nah, I didn't upload it. I'm sorry. These aliens were ugly looking, but what they ended up learning was that when the aliens spoke, it spoke in English, and they were like, how does it speak? How does it understand our language? But the aliens actually experienced our world through TV. So everything they said was like from a TV show or from the news. So they actually thought that that we as humans are just meant to destroy everything, because they watch all these movies of destruction and everything. And eventually they just connect with these aliens and tell them like, no, we're not about that. We're people. We come in peace and everything. So it was a pretty cool experience. Pulled up. That's one of the aliens right there. What they ended up realizing was this huge alien that they were talking with wasn't even it was actually a kid alien, and then the father eventually came in the mothership and swallowed their ship, and then started yelling at him in his alien language. But nonetheless, it was an adventure story. It was nostalgic. The budget for it, it came out also in July of 1985. Budget was $25 million. It made a measly $9.9 million. So a lot of these movies, man, they became so popular once they became on VHS, and they got a huge following after the fact. But
I don't know about that one.
Well, I think so. You got to watch it, bro. You got to watch it.
No, I'll watch it. Absolutely.
The goal is, listen, I have a young baby now, and I'm hoping that she has the patience to sit through a movie, and focus. Because I would love to watch a lot of these things. I want her to watch Thundercats. I want her to watch a lot of those cartoons, and not just because they're from my era, because I truly feel that they're way better than anything else that they come out with now.
I watched Neverending Story with my son, and he loved it.
Did he? I think that's dope, man. For them to appreciate it, I would love to see the excitement on their face, as they're experiencing that movie, because I caught that feeling. I was excited. I was sad. That movie took you up and down. So that's my
show you. You know what? Once I saw the alien, that's when I started to remember the movie.
Yeah, that alien is weird as hell, but it was funny because it was talking in TV terms. Like it was like Abbott Costello. It was just talking random like comments. And they were like, "Where do you get this from?" And then they were showing them like, "This is from your planet. We watch. This is what we watch." Kind of similar, but not. So in this movie, they're being judged by what's on TV, right? There was a point where, it's a weird story. I was coming home from a football game in Queens. I had to take the train. I had to go through Manhattan to go back to Brooklyn because of traffic. Because of construction. So I'm on the train and there's a family, husband, wife, daughter, son, sitting right across from me, and they're staring, no blinking, staring right at me, staring. And I'm like, and I'm wearing sweatpants and a football jersey, and I'm like, why are these people staring at me? I don't understand it, right? So I'm looking at them like, you need help with something, right? And then they were a little lost. They said, yeah, we're looking for this. So I said, yeah, all you gotta do is take this train here. Then they say, they're like hitting each other and whispering into each other's ears. And they say, ask him. And I go, what do you want to know? And they go, excuse me, do you have a gun? And can we see it? I said, why would you ask me that? And they said, don't everybody have a gun in New York? I said, where are you from? Oh, we're visiting from the United Kingdom. So I said, so why would you think that I have a gun? Why do you think that everybody has a gun? Because that's what we see on TV. And at that moment, I thought to myself, wow, is that how other people view Americans when they watch American films? Like, does that mean that that I can fight in Bloodsport because you saw that American film?
You gotta tag that last comment by John Devlin. Read it out loud, man.
Joe, if they make a movie of your life, Michael Pena should play you. You remind me of him, dude.
I like Michael Pena.
Wait, who's Michael Pena?
Michael Pena is the guy from the Ant-Man movie. No, the Ant-Man movie, the one, the Hispanic dude. There you go, him.
Oh, hold on, I'm pulling it out. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that guy.
Yeah.
I love that guy. Thank you. You know what? Hey, Michael Pena, if you're out there, let's talk.
He's mad funny. Yeah, you know why? It's because that guy gives mad random facts in Ant-Man.
He does.
The other guy giving all the facts and information. He tells a story really weird, and I think
he does voiceovers for the story. That's dope. Ant-Man, like he's doing everybody's voice as they tell the story.
Yeah, he has one of those personalities that
I love him. Yeah,
he could say a lot of things and it makes it really, really funny,
Because Dan came over with the nunchucks, this time the third, and pow.
He does sound like that. He does sound like that. You have an act for imitating a lot of people. I don't know how long it takes you to get that, but that's just my opinion.
I try.
How
singing, voice impersonations, man.
This guy is talented.
Talent is limitless.
Jamie Foxx, move over. We have Rick.
Yeah. All you gotta do is learn an instrument. You are a quadruple threat.
He's a one-man band. My band. Right. So let's move on. Rick, what's your next movie?
My next movie, I think I went with another movie that I think most people saw, and it was The Labyrinth. Yeah, man. I personally
saw very young Jennifer Connelly in there, right?
Yeah, young. She was a teenager, Jennifer Connelly, in that movie.
That was her first movie. No, I don't think that might have been early movies.
But I was really, really impressed with David Bowie's performance in that movie. He did a fantastic job in that movie. He was awesome, and I love his voice. Like it's funny because I don't like musicals. Huh?
I don't remember him singing, but I remember the movie very well. Yeah.
Like I don't like musicals. Like when they sing all the way through the movies, I never like them. But when a musical is done right, man, they tell a story in a way that's just so awesome. And that's funny because Little Shop of Horrors, kind of a musical. The Labyrinth, awesome musical. And a lot of Disney movies are basically musicals. Like you guys know, one of my favorites is The Little Mermaid.
Yes, we know.
Weird. and weird. Technically, it fits because she got in there at the last leg of the 80s. She got there in '89.
Question. I'm just going to real quick. You watch all Disney movies, yes?
Almost.
Okay, most of them.
Yeah.
Why is that one out of all of them your favorite?
That one, oh man, that's the song's a classic. The story was amazing. I loved it, and it was like one of the first big Disney movies that when I was young, that was the first movie it was the idea of animation going to the theaters. At that time, I was like, oh wow, a cartoon that's going to be in the movies. That was a big deal for me, and yeah, it was just. And when I watched it, I fell in love. Like the characters are so well developed, you really care for them, and it's oh man, it's one of my favorites. Classic songs, classic characters.
That makes me wonder what is the first animation I saw in a movie theater.
Oh, the first one I think is Bambi. I think Bambi was the first animated movie in the 1930s, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I'm saying for myself, I'm wondering what was my first animation movie in the movie theater. Because cartoons was a big deal for kids back in the days,
right?
And to have the opportunity to see it on a big screen, I could see that being memorable, and it holds weight.
And I think that's what happened with me with The Little Mermaid. Even though I didn't see it in the theater,
most people saw it at home on video.
I think the box office numbers are gonna disagree with you on that one.
I think going to the video store was a big part of our lives, and it was a big part of us, our family, of watching videos at home. And what'd you pick up from the movie store? Oh, I pick up something good. Like, it was fun, and it was something to look forward to. And we didn't just commit ourselves to the house stuck on games the whole time. We went out and played. We did our thing, and then we came home once a week. That's from my family, and we watched a movie. My aunt was always renting horror movies, which scared the shit out of me, but I had to get used to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that I gotta watch that movie over again. Obviously I got a little girl now, so we'll probably end up watching it when she gets older.
Yeah, man, the puppetry on that's even a word. The Jim Henson, man, he was the man when it came to like puppets and stuff like that. He did a fantastic job just creating that world, man. The world of the Labyrinth.
That's the thing with the guy like that with the eyes in his hand. Was that from the Labyrinth?
Yes. That's a scene where Jennifer Connelly is falling down. There's a whole bunch of hands grabbing her, and then they create faces with the hands.
Interesting.
Yo, if you could pull it out, look up helping hands, and pull up an image. While I'm telling this, that scene with the helping hands, it was, oh my god, that came right out of Jim Henson's head, because one of the creators for the movie was talking about doing, how people made hand faces like this with their hands. They would like put lipstick here and put two eyes, right? Yeah. So that's the idea he had for the scene, and then Jim Henson took it to a whole nother level with just creating faces with whole hands. So if you could look for the helping hand scene from the Labyrinth.
He's a legend, man. He touched.
Did you find something?
Lives.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Look at those different faces he made just from using hands.
Wow.
Yep, they created over 100 latex hands for that scene, and it was on a 40-foot drop. And they were just testing out different types of hands and mouths, and this would be a mouth with two people. Well, one person would do the mouth, and another person like do this for the eyeballs and the eyebrows, and they'll do different kinds of eyes.
It's a great level of artistry,
Man, imagination. His imagination was crazy.
Someone wrote, Jim Henson is great. The puppets in Dark Crystal are amazing too.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Dark Crystal was before the Labyrinth.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, the Labyrinth was one of his last movies because it was another commercial flop. Another movie that I think was a $25 million budget. Oh, that's Guillermo del Toro, right?
Wow. Oh, that's later on.
No, that's a different movie. Yeah. That's Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth. Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I was thinking of.
But that's a decade.
Oh.
That's a decade later. How he started something and people still model from it. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, he just created so many unique characters for that movie, The Labyrinth. Huh?
It didn't do well in the box office, correct?
No, it was a flop, big time flop. It was one of the last movies he ended up doing because I think it pretty much bankrupted him.
Well, it's more about did he pay for it or was it a studio? Like I gotta find that
Well,
out.
yeah, it was like a $25 million, but it was his passion project. And another fun fact was that he had a friend. His name was, what was it here? Was Sendak, right? He also made books. One of the books that he made, everybody knows this one, and that's Where the Wild Things Are.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't know, what I found out when I was researching this film, is that The Wild Things was part of a sort of a trilogy of books.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the books is called Outside Over There. And the theme to that book was where a young girl has her baby sister taken away by goblins. And that's the exact same premise of the Labyrinth. You know, you have Jennifer Connelly playing the girl whose little brother gets taken away by the goblins and the Goblin King. And so he was a friend of Jim Henson, so he felt like he was trying to take his creative ideas away from him. So he was trying to stop the movie from being done. And they came to an agreement where he would give him some credit in his movie. So in the first scene where she's in the bedroom, you're going to see a book of Where the Wild Things Are. And you're going to see a portion of Sendak's trilogy of Outside and Over There.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty cool.
That was early day negotiating, so I don't sue your ass, right?
Yeah, he got away easy.
Yeah. Wow. From honestly, question for you guys. If you need me to go over a list, who was your guy of the 80s? Who was your favorite? I think I know yours, Gillette, but who was your guy of the 80s? Your go-to actor that really, I mean, for me, it's hard because you know I loved all types of movies, you know. But if you could name one actor, who was your guy? Oh, girl.
I don't know.
So while we thinking of that, right? I know I'm gonna say Eddie Murphy, but a movie that I watched a lot, I believe that was in the 80s with Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah.
So like, I don't know if you want to put that in the movies category, but that was a movie that I watched, and my sister, you know, once she was big enough. I mean, even years after that thing came out, we was watching it, to the point where he has a song where he's like, get on the bus and get your ticket right. Yeah, trying to get me to sing, but it's not happening. Right? So what was crazy was I was like, when I got with my lady, I used to sing random songs and be like, where's that from? Where's that from? And she didn't know. And I was like, that's Michael Jackson. She's like, Michael Jackson ain't make no damn song. Get on a bus and get your ticket. So I had to show her. I was like, what? It's from Moonwalker when he was like a claymation rabbit.
Yeah.
He's running from him.
I don't remember it fully, honestly.
That movie.
I might have watched it once. That's why I don't remember.
But if you watch it, it's like Moonwalker is like 7 movies in one, I think. It's like a bunch.
I think so.
It's like a bunch of little skits.
Oh, okay.
When he turns into the car,
he turns into a robot, a car. He's a rabbit in one.
Somebody wrote Mel Gibson, Lethal Weapon, and Mad Max over and over. That's what
definitely.
Person, yeah. Listen, that Mad Max back in the day was epic. It was great. Yeah. That world was pretty cool. The way they dressed them, they did a great job. You know, there's so many young stars back then. You know, I would say for me, man, I'm torn because you know, like, listen, I love the Michael J. Foxes and Eddie Murphy was clutch, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Rock of back then. You know,
I like it. Yeah.
he transitioned from something else, but he was a mega star. But if I'm gonna have to pick a go-to, and don't fault me because there's so many great. Kung Fu was big in the 80s too. I loved Kung Fu. I watched American Ninja and Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. But I would say if I had to pick one person, it would be Sylvester Stallone, man. The Rocky series I was so inspired from. It was masterful from the beginning to the end. From the orchestra, from the way they filmed it, they changed the game for everything, and they did it like against all odds. His Rocky is called the underdog story. Well, that's his life, you know, and he broke the mold, and I was impressed. Even as a kid, I was like in awe. I watched that movie a million times. Even to this day, that music inspires you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my choice, Sylvester Stallone.
One of the things I think about 80 movies is that they have great rewatch value. Great rewatch value. Like you can know, there's not many movies that if you know the line, you know what's going to happen, you want to see it again. A lot of the newer movies, it comes up, nah, I saw that already. Right? And it's a fairly newer movie. But let a Rocky movie come on. You'll watch it. Now, how many times have you seen a Rocky movie?
That's true.
You don't let you turn to it when the music is on. Or he's running up the steps or something, getting stronger and all that, right?
Sing it.
I don't know. I just know he says getting stronger. You know, as a kid, I always wanted.
He's the only guy out of all of us who can actually sing, but then he doesn't want to. But okay.
I know, right?
Only in the shower studios. That's it, man. Only in the shower studios. That's it. Yeah.
Inspired. Got it. Someone wrote any of Jim Carrey, obviously Jackie Chan and Eddie Murphy. Absolutely. You know,
that was Abby.
Great. You know, all of them have. You know, Jackie Chan was a part of so many great movies, and his accent didn't bother me not one bit. You know, he was. You know, he's a master of his craft. You know, but Rick, did you tell me yours?
My what?
Your go-to guy for the 80s, a go-to actor?
I couldn't think of one. All I could think about was another classic movie that I think was underlooked and underrated back in the day, which was The Princess Bride.
Princess Bride.
It was with Andre the Giant. He was in it, and it had like
The Princess Bride.
You killed my father. Prepare to die. Look it up.
I don't remember that.
So out of all those mega stars,
bro, look up The Princess Bride.
I think you just be trying to find the sleeper like that no one's thinking about.
Nah, bro, it's on my list of movies. Then you can't even see it. It's on my list of movies that I had.
I'm looking at the cover and it doesn't ring a bell.
Appreciate the feedback. Someone wrote, "Sup, fellas? You have a good podcast. Keep doing your thing." Thank you very much.
That was Jose Otero. Thank you for those kind words.
Bride is one of my favorite and must see.
Oh, you see, he says, "Nah, dead ass. Everybody knows The Princess Bride." Thank you.
One person. You can go in a room and you guys can watch.
Jose Otero.
I'm sorry, I don't remember the movie.
Hold on. Let me look this up real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, The Princess Bride is one of those classic 80s movies. I mean, I remember Andre the Giant was. I think it was the only movie Andre the Giant was in.
Okay.
The wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
It has a sort of what do you call it? It has a Robin Hood kind of theme to it.
Billy Crystal's in it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you put me on the one. I've definitely heard of it, but I have no recollection of it.
See, Jose says it's hilarious. It's a funny movie.
Yeah,
it doesn't ring any bells, man. Honestly.
Oh man!
But like,
did you ever watch wrestling like in the 80s?
I did. It was big. Hulk Hogan,
Andre the Giant,
Andre the Giant, Randy Macho Man Savage, the Bushwhackers. You know, like
that was in the
Warrior.
Yeah, that was in the peak of Andre's career.
I probably watched it, but what I want to know, Rick, out of all these mega movies, you chose that movie, bro?
No, it's not just me. Look, even your man says it right here. He says, "I know the name title throws you off, but I promise it's gangster."
That's a quote.
Listen, if that's what stood out to you, that's what stood out.
That movie, yeah, of course. Different movies talk to us in our own ways. The Last Dragon was one of the best movies of all time. You know, I love that movie. Every song in that you remember. Every, just directly your feet to the Daddy Green's Pizza. Show enough.
That soundtrack is in my Apple iTunes.
That movie was epic on so many levels.
Listen, we all wanted to catch bullets with our teeth.
Oh,
yep.
Right?
Yeah.
We all did this to see if we could get our hands to look like it was doing that thing. Or if it would glow, and then
and he wanted to be Bruce Lee, and he was just looking for a belt buckle, looking for this fake sensei.
Listen, I'm so corny. When I was single, even as a young adult, I still was throwing out the, can you teach me some moves? Cute joint. So
Yo,
it's
one of
just classic.
so many great scenes when they went to the Chinese printing shop, and they were singing "Suki Yuki Yak Sake Suk Bisake to me, I sake to you."
Yeah.
Yo, and when he was pretending to be he was pretending to roll dice, and he was trying to be, he was practicing his pitch, and then when he finally said it, he was, "Yo, so brother number one," like it was so not the way he should have did it, but it was awesome. It was
And that scene was so dope because the Chinese guys were like acting black, and he was acting like a Chinaman. That was what made it so dope.
He had a fishnet shirt, top on, and everything, and hilarious. I don't remember if I mentioned in the other podcast. I actually went to a viewing in Governor's Island of the Last Dragon, and I wore this hat, I wore this shirt. Now I wanted to get another shirt, but I was researching and I didn't really find any cool shirts. This is the coolest shirt I could get. So I go there, I wear this hat, I wear this shirt, and this guy dressed in a full gi, looking exactly like Leroy in the movie theater. He was literally eating lo mein with chopsticks, right? The dude comes up to me and was like, "We must battle." So we took pictures posing like we were fighting, and people were treating us like we were in the movie. Can I take a picture? Can I take a picture? Just taking pictures around us. The main actor showed up. That story is pretty crazy because he was not supposed to make it in that movie. But that movie's great for a multitude of reasons, you know.
You just gave me a little nostalgia right now. When we used to go to the movies right after work, man. You got that video from the Deadpool, man? We meant to go see it.
Ooh, I do. We're gonna have to share that in another episode. Yeah. We went to see the movie Deadpool straight after work, a bunch of us, and we came up with the idea like, yo, we should buy Deadpool masks and all wear them and take public transportation over there with our Deadpool masks. So we're built in all different shapes and forms, fat ones, tall guys, skinny guys, right? And we all wore it. And Rick wore the Deadpool with a woman's wig on top of it, which was hilarious.
Oh man.
So you get different responses. People are uneasy. Now people are more used to people wearing masks because of COVID. But back then, it was free. So think about it. 5 people come on the train with Deadpool masks, right, in their regular clothes. People were scared. People were staring at us like, yo, what the hell? But I'll share that video and those pictures later.
Yeah, but people also stopping us to take pictures, remember?
They were. That slow-mo walk to the camera was epic. But I'll share that, man. It was a good time, man. Great memories, man. I'm willing to do stuff like that for the memories, man. I love it.
Yeah. Also, I just want to give one quick shout out because you can't mention 80s nostalgia, even though I'm not a personal fan, but you got to give a shout out to Star Wars, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, those diehard Star Wars fans right now, they would unsubscribe, delete us, remove us from the internet, and we would have zero validity without mentioning Star Wars.
Yeah. Star Wars was epic. It still is.
And then on the comedy side of that, you have Spaceballs, which is a parody of Star Wars.
Yo, Spaceballs was classic, man. Rick Moranis, right?
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah. Rick Moranis was in it, and he was hilarious. He wore the huge dog.
Oh, yes.
And then after that, he got tied into Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and made $1 gazillion and straight up retired from the industry. And every time someone offered him something, he was like, "Yeah, I'm good. You know, I can buy your studio with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids money."
Yeah, that movie had to have done well.
Yeah, of course. I watched the first one. After the second one and third one, I was like, the second part was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids again. You know, and what about the Goonies?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Oh yes, brother.
Goonies is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's childhood friendships going on an adventure. I actually have a paintball team, and we are called the Goonies. I'll share that another time. But my buddy Thomas right here is a member of the team. When COVID's over, you guys are all invited to partake in shooting. It's a lot of fun, man. But Goonies, epic. You cannot talk about the 80s and not talk about the Goonies.
Yep.
Word.
So,
Definitely.
guys, we talked about a lot of stuff. I think we should wrap it up, man. Thank
Absolutely,
you.
man.
I got one. Before you wrap it up, I got a question. Quick
Okay, go ahead.
question. Any crushes from the 80s movies?
Oh,
Childhood crushes from the 80s movies.
right out of
Who
Little Shop of
stands
Horrors.
out?
For
Little
me, it
Shop
was
of
that
Horrors?
good. Yeah, she was killing it. She was so provocative. Ellen Green.
Who?
Ellen Green, the
From where? From where?
the love interest from Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, the titty girl. The one that you said was like, oh, like you were like fantasizing about.
Yeah, man. And she had a sexy little lisp too, man.
How do I not? Thank you. How do I not?
Oh, Weird Science.
Oh,
Weird Science was my joint.
Yeah.
Weird Science,
hold
man.
on a minute. These
I was gonna talk about
these
it.
boobies did it for you?
For an 8-9-year-old, yeah, that did it. Who's never seen cleavage in his life? Yeah,
that was a big deal back then. Cleavage was a big deal back then.
Yeah, the girl from Weird Science, she was epic.
Yeah.
I actually was gonna choose Weird Science for this episode, and there's a lot of did you knows about that show, the movie, great movie. But again, there's so many episodes, so many. We have plenty of time to really talk about all this stuff. Someone wrote, I tuned in late. Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Beverly Hills Cop, Harry and the Hendersons, absolutely.
Yes.
Mac and Me,
Yeah.
Mac and Me, definitely.
Mac and Me, brother. Mac and Me. That thing had me crying like a baby.
Someone wrote Brooke Shields and Blue Lagoon was my 80s for. I love Jennifer Connelly. I actually got to meet her.
Really?
Yeah, her and her husband are awesome. Her husband is actually
save that story because I actually want to do a show on that. Actors and actresses that we met.
okay, cool.
That's gonna be that'll be a dope show. We got stories for days, man.
Absolutely. So hey guys, man, thank you for tuning in. This is our first live episode, man. We're actually looking to change the time and make a consistent time going forward. So I think we're gonna start airing live on Sunday, I think 10 o'clock, right?
10 p.m.
10 p.m. Yeah, 9 to 10. We'll figure it out. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
All those guys in the Facebook media chat room, thank you for all your feedback and talking back and forth about scripts and actors and upcoming movies. We love it. Keep participating. We appreciate you. Any way you guys want to contribute, whether it be pictures, whether it be comments, whether it be if you want to join us, just like our buddy Thomas is joining us, you're more than welcome. We love it. There's a lot of people who are very opinionated about certain movies. You better not talk bad about this character or this movie.
Yeah, and
we want to hear you.
Yeah, I want to show you guys also like you can also join without video, like I'm going to show you right now. Like, see, you can still hear me talking. If you're not comfortable with being on video, this is an option. We want you guys to explore. So that way.
You could choose your photo. You could choose the funniest photo you could think of.
Yeah.
As a dog, if you want. Whatever you want. Sky's the limit. But, it's a pretty cool medium to use. We'll let you know more information going forward. Again, Thomas, thank you for joining us, man. You're always welcome here, man. We love having you. Rick, thank you for holding it down.
No problem, man.
As always, guys, keep up the dialogue back and forth. Love what you do.
Do what you love, man.
Word up. Salute y'all. Peace, yo.
Peace.
Later.